All right, this is Buddy Blackham. This is for speech.
Hi, I'm Brad.
Andrea. Rebecca.
Beth.
Robin.
So I'd like you to imagine you're a member of a Delta Force, or you're in the military in some remote place. Say you're on a reconnaissance mission in the jungles of South America. You've discovered a cocaine plant. But how, you're in the middle of nowhere, how are you gonna get the information back to your commanding officer? How are you gonna request extraction to get out of there once you're done? So we're going to talk about satellites affect us every day, whether we know it or not. So weather satellites help us predict the weather and in the future and tell us what's going on in the present as far as the weather goes. Spy satellites allow countries to spy, to keep track of one another by taking pictures from space of what exactly is going on. One of the most useful applications of satellites is communication satellites. We're going to talk about communication satellites and their silent impact on everyday life. So we're going to look at satellite communications in three parts. First, we're going to look at the technical side of satellite communications that allow them to be so useful to us. Second, we'll discuss the pros and cons of satellite communications. And third, we're going to talk about the whole point of satellite communications, which is the user. So what is it that makes satellite communications such an important tool? Well, satellites are placed in orbit. If you'll imagine that this is the Earth and this is a communication satellite. So satellite communications are placed in orbit 23,300 miles above the Earth's surface. Any higher than that and they would leave Earth's gravitational field and float off into space. Any lower and they would either spin with the Earth or they'd be pulled down to Earth. So satellite communications, in order to achieve what's called a geostationary orbit, where they stay one place above the Earth, it's 23,300 miles. That way when the Earth rotates, they stay right above it as it goes along, so that they can continually beam to one spot on the Earth's surface. And this is one of the main reasons they're so useful. Just one satellite can cover 25% of the Earth's surface. So we'll talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of satellite communications now. So the primary advantage of satellites that we talked about, the large coverage area. Satellites allow users to communicate even when separated by vast distances. As long as, the person on the Earth is within the footprint, we call it a footprint of the satellite, they can uplink to the satellite and they can receive the downlink. So they can go from one across oceans as long as they could see the satellite, that they can communicate. So for this reason, so imagine this is a satellite and this is the Earth. See here you see is far enough away. Imagine if this was a bigger light. Just the dark areas. It's just like when the sun throws light on the Earth. The satellite is the same way. There's a very large amount of surface area that a satellite can cover. So for this reason, satellite communications can at times be cheaper than landlines, especially when the landlines go under the ocean. There's sometimes when we lay landlines under the ocean. Launching a satellite in space can, even though they're very expensive, can be cheaper than doing that. So those are some of the advantages of satellite communications. Some of the disadvantages are that these radio signals, as they have to pass through the Earth's atmosphere. So things like weather can affect it. Things like how far, if you're a far edge, if they have to pass through more atmosphere, then it affects the signal. The signal can be degraded, and also because of what we talked about, one of the advantages is this huge footprint that the satellite has. Someone anywhere within the footprint can send up a signal to what we call jam a satellite communication signal. So they can send up a signal that either by accident, it happens by accident all the time. Users can, accidentally, they may be doing something else and they can be on the same wavelength that the satellite communications fix. So or a combative nation, all the time that this happens in war, they try to find out where you're communicating and then jam it. And it's kind of easy to do if you know what signal you're going at with the satellite. So in addition, maintaining a satellite link can be very expensive. Launch itself can cost $30 to $100 million, according to an article in the New York Times. The satellite ground equipment is expensive also. So equipment operators need to be aware of these negative factors so that the end user will have uninterrupted communications. So the end users fall under two umbrellas. There's military and there's commercial. So we talked about earlier about entertainment aspects such as satellite TV, radio. In addition, there's other commercial aspects like journalists, when they go out to the field, they uplink to a satellite because they're in the middle of nowhere. As a satellite professional working for the Department of Defense myself, for 10 years I have a lot of experience with military communication applications. As a floating fortress, the U.S. Navy's entire fleet communicates through satellites. They're on the ocean, on the surface of the earth. They don't have access to landlines, so they put a satellite dish on there and they communicate through satellites. So, and also in areas without robust communications, like we talked about earlier, ground forces also communicate through satellites. And the in-theater forces in Iraq, most of them have uplink at some point through satellites. So satellites provide vital communications to both military and commercial personnel. So in the beginning of my speech, we talked about a remote special forces user needing to convey intelligence information. The reason he's able to transmit this important information is due to communication satellites. So due to the unique geostationary orbit, above the Earth's surface, like we talked about, satellite he's uplinking to stays continually in his field of view. It never passes out of his field of view. So satellite signals transmit to and receive from an enormous footprint on the Earth's surface, allowing them to reach even the most remote, isolated user. Unfortunately, there are disadvantages to satellite communications. We talked about the weather can affect it. They're expensive to build, launch, and maintain. These signals can be jammed by hostile and friendly forces. But despite these drawbacks, satellite communications serve both commercial and military users. Commercial users benefit from TV, radio, other applications. The military users use them largely because the U.S. naval fleet as well as ground mobile forces use them both on land and at the sea. So the next time you turn on TV and you hear about an army, something happened in Iraq, or a fleet, a boat comes into harbor here in Tampa Bay, think about the fact that they are doing their communications through satellites that are placed in geostationary orbit. Thank you.